going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Going the Distance podcast presented by ImmaculateSports.com. Twitter's at ImmacSports.
Instagram is also at ImmacSports.
TikTok, YouTube, Immaculate Sports. And we made it to the big 200. It's episode 200. And with All-Star Weekend coming up, a lot of special things planned. We got a little draft we're going to do, and we're going to have some fun, Kyle.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun episode where we're doing some of the things that we always like to do, like the mock trades. We're going to do a fun draft today as well, too, for the all-time home run derby draft that we got going on. But fun week ahead, man. We got the All-Star game within about a week. Same with the home run derby. We got the MLB Draft. We have NCAA coming out. And then, obviously, there's big stuff going on in the soccer world as well, too. And I guess that leads me right into my opener with Lamine Yamal, who is a 16-year-old playing on Spain's national team right now and scored a goal today to tie up the game against France. Spain ended up winning after they scored 4 minutes later and then held on to win 2-1 in the semifinals of the Euros today. But Lamine Yamal became the youngest Spanish player to ever score in the Euros, or it might have just been any player to ever score at the Euros at 16 years old and 361 days. It's just crazy to think that dude is 6 years younger than me and doing things that I could have never dreamt of. So shout out Lamine Yamal. He's the next Messi and putting on for the motherland in España.
Yeah, pretty incredible. My opener also has to do with a teenager. As we all know, the Olympics are heating back up, especially basketball, playing a bunch of exhibition games this week. One tradition is always that Team USA will play against a USA select team full of young NBA players like Brandon Pajemski, or even sometimes younger prospects like Cooper Flagg. In this game, Cooper Flagg had 17 points going up against Bron, Tatum, and Bam Adebayo. I'm so excited to watch Cooper Flagg at Duke next year because we usually don't get a lot of superstar defensive wings like a Jason Tatum, and most people didn't even buy that he was going to be a superstar until he was a couple years into the league. This might be the most hyped up power forward prospect since the big ticket Kevin Garnett coming out of high school. So I'm just excited to see what's next. It's endless possibility for this kind of player who spends so much time on defense.
Yeah, I was thinking about that over the past few days, just seeing some of the practices and some of the footage that came out of the runs that they've had with select team versus the national team. And it's crazy to think about, like, if, say, you're 17-year-old Cooper Flagg right now and you're, running scrimmages against LeBron James and Steph Curry, guys who you grew up watching, and not even, like, that's, like, throughout his entire lifetime they've been playing basketball. Like, you could even say you grew up watching, like, Jimmy Butler or Jason Tatum or something like that. He's still growing up, to be honest with you. He's still a kid, which is ridiculous. And I saw a clip of is like Drew Holiday kind of tagging him full court, and then it switched over to AD, and then what does he do with AD? He just pops a three right in his face, and no problem. Like, it's just a cool. Maybe it's no fans being there, it's just 100% hoopers, and obviously there's media and whatnot, but there's no 20,000 fans in the stands. But just to see a kid kind of cold blooded like that against obviously his idols is pretty ridiculous to see. And a couple of young dudes that we're talking about in our openers who, taking the stage for their sports over the next, couple of years, of course.
Yes, sir.
Moving on, though, to our player, pitcher, rookie of the week that seems to be a mainstay in the 200 episodes that we've done in the Going the Distance podcast so far. It's the player of the week, pitcher of the week, and rookie of the week. Skyler, who is your player of the week?
What a ridiculous week. So many options. I got honorable mentions going out to Christian Walker, Bobby Witt, Ben Rice. Those guys did not hit over 700, though, like Jose Miranda did for the Twins. 15 hits and only 21 ABs, striking out only once.
Yeah, Jose Miranda was absolutely ridiculous, man. He 12 straight at-bats with the base hit is crazy. The one time I actually, tuned in to watch his at-bat was that 13th at-bat, though. And so I did see him get out, unfortunately, but besides that, he was locked in. Just whether he's taking the pitch the other way, pulling it, he took everything where it was pitched. And so Jose Miranda, for his 15-hit week, has got to be my player of the week. On to pitcher of the week.
Yeah, I feel like we should mention Justin Steele threw a two-hit Maddox against the Angels, but this one's going to go to the guy who his Cubbies had to face the next night, Tyler Anderson. He goes 8 shutout, 10 strikeouts, no walks, and gets named an All-Star. What a week for him.
I'm not beating around the bush here at all, Skyler. My pitcher of the week is going to be Joey Estes for his complete game shutout Maddox that he had over this past week. He's getting shelled today versus the Red Sox, but that's just on the cutoff. Didn't make it in. So Joey Estes for his 92 pitch complete game shutout that he had last week, he's got to be my pitcher of the week. With that being said, though, rookie of the week.
Yeah, I mentioned Ben Rice earlier. Paul Skeens is up here every week, of course, but it's got to go to Joey Estes. He gets another one because the 22-year-old also threw a Maddox this week, 92 pitches against the Angels, 4 Ks, and he gets those ground balls, man. Just not at Fenway, I guess.
Yeah, I guess not. Joey S is my rookie of the week as well, too, of course. But I do want to give a shout out to Brooks Lee, who came up for the Minnesota Twins this past week, the former Cal Poly shortstop, playing third base for the Twins. And he dominated in his first 6 big league games, 11 for 24. That's a 458 batting average, hit a homer, 8 RBIs, and a batting stance that kind of reminds me of Eddie Rosario, and a guy that used to bash for the Minnesota Twins for a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, you can really pick any Twin right now for rookie of the week, player of the week, pitcher of the week, whatever it is. They've been dominating over this past, 3-week stretch, I'd say maybe. Moving on, though, from our awards, moving into the All-Star Game snubs. The rosters came out, the full rosters came out on Sunday. The starters came out about a week ago. So that means there's definitely going to be some guys that were left off of that list who were snubs, and we want to go over our top 3 for that. Skylar, I'll let you go first. Who is your biggest snub?
Yeah, let's just get Brent Rooker out of the way, I guess, here, because we're the A's fans. We know why he's not there. It's because the numbers look a little worse than last season compared to last July. He plays for the A's, a really bad team still, who only are going to get one representative. But that's just not fair to me, man. That's not fair because he destroys the baseball. I guess I won't mention the other guys. I had a bunch of honorable mentions here, but I'll tie it in later. I figured you have Brent Rooker too, so it'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, Brent Rooker is going to be on my list as well too. He's the only guy within the top 19 in the MLB and OPS that did not get on the list. He's at 890 right now, which is ridiculous. 18 homers, 54 RBIs. And the guy who got in over him at the DH position, David Fry, I mean, he was good for April and May, but only 16 points higher in the OPS despite having 91 less at bats. That seems like pretty obvious that Rooker's been the better player this season and a more consistent player and has had more availability. Maybe it's, Fry playing on a better team, whatever. But Brett Rooker definitely deserved to be in Arlington next week. And that's partially the reason why I put this on the spreadsheet this week, because I did want to talk about that for a little bit. Who's your next guy?
How about next we go with Jake Irvin of Washington, the right-handed pitcher. I've seen this all over Twitter, so I knew I was going to talk about him because he's top 10 in ERA and leading a staff that we thought would be pretty abysmal based off of the Fangraphs projections a couple months ago. He doesn't walk guys. It's not quite George Kirby level, who also got snubbed, but I talk about him so much I didn't put him on the list. Jake Irvin was a little shocking to me, though.
Yeah, Jake Irvin is not on my list, but definitely a guy I would like to see in Arlington next week. He has been dominant. I talked about him as a sleeper for either my NL Cy Young or breakout player a couple weeks ago. I put him in my honorable mentions category for one of those. And he's been dominant. It's been really good the past couple weeks as well, too. I believe he threw 8 shutout, 4th of July or something like that. So he's been really dominant. The next guy I want to talk about, though, is Christian Walker, who didn't get in for the Arizona Diamondbacks. 845 OPS. His 22 home runs leads all first basemen in the MLB, and his 65 runs batted in are second of all first basemen in all of the MLB, not just the National League. Pete Alonso got in over this guy. I never thought Pete Alonso would be a popular player amongst the players because that's how they do this reserve voting is the player voting. But it kind of just shocked me to see Christian Walker not get in, even though most of his production has happened within this past couple of weeks, and maybe it's too late for him to get in off the ballot based off of when people submitted theirs. But Walker definitely deserves to be an All-Star this year. Who's your last one?
100% on board with you. It's Christian Walker. Not only has he had one of the best stretches in like the past couple of weeks or so for all first basemen, but really it's much longer than that. It's maybe a year and a half, one of the best all-around first basemen in the league. Great defense, too, no one talks about. His 853 OPS, seventh best in the entire National League. You mentioned it. He's already got 22 homers. He clears the traditional statistics. I'm still scratching my head on this one.
Yeah, not to mention also, if this game was played in Dodger Stadium, if he was a Dodger, this dude would have about 80 homers right now. I want to say, has the most of any opposing player in Dodger Stadium or something like that. Now he's been ridiculous there and homered like 4 times there in the series that they played last week. But the last guy I do want to talk about is Josh Smith of the Texas Rangers. I thought he was going to be a guy that gets in, especially with the game being in his home stadium in Arlington. 290 batting average, 380 on base percentage, and a 444 slugging percentage aren't crazy. I mean, they're good numbers, but they're not like, oh my God, this guy needs to be in the All-Star game. Because his OPS isn't higher than like 820, 830. 7 homers isn't crazy. Plus defender at multiple positions, but the role that he's played this year for the Texas Rangers, I thought would have been something that would have been valued more, because he's just been a utility guy. He's played third base for when Josh Young went down. He played shortstop in some games. He's played some outfield. He's played wherever and has been a great defender at every single position. And I just think that would have been something that would have been valued more, especially by the players, to know how hard that is to come into a team that's, has such lofty expectations and been able to kind of keep them in the race for a team that's been struggling. And I know there's been talk about the Rangers selling at the deadline. I don't think they'll do that. But for one of the reasons why haven't been completely out of it is got to be Josh Smith. And I thought he would have definitely gotten some recognition as an All-Star.
They usually set aside a couple utility spots, it seems like, but not this year.
Exactly. And they usually, they got Marcus Semien in, who probably shouldn't have been in this year considering his stats, but you always expect the home team to maybe have 1 or 2 couple gimme All-Stars just for the the PR of the All-Star game. Moving on though, anyways, to our all-time home run derby draft. We had one criteria for this draft, and that is that they had to have participated in at least one home run derby. Whether they win it, lose it, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just they had to have been in at least one. We're going to do 8 rounds, snake draft. So say if I get the first pick, I take someone, then you get 2 back-to-back picks. And we haven't decided the first overall pick yet. And so I have a heads or tails thing up on my phone right now. Skyler, do you have heads or tails?
Tails never fails.
Tails never fails. We'll flip it. Is it going to go? Oh, there it is. It's tails. Baby. So do you want the first pick, or are you going to defer?
I'll take the first pick, actually. I have a pretty solid number 1 on my board right now.
All right, let me get our teams down here. That way we can keep track of them. All right. Skyler, who is your number 1 pick?
For the first pick in the all-time home run derby draft, I'm going to go with Ken Griffey Jr., 630 career homers, a 3-time derby winner. That's the most ever, and an 8-time participant. He had to be my top choice. The most derby.
Yeah, that seemed like the top choice. It's definitely, if this was Aura too, he'd definitely be number 1 as well too. So that means I have the 2nd and 3rd overall pick. Ken Griffey was my number 1 on my big board. So I'm going with a couple guys who have won it twice in their career. Probably the biggest tryhard in home run derby history. I'm taking Pete Alonso as my
number
first
2
pick.
on my
He's
board.
doing again this year. He's won it twice. And I just thought it was so funny when I want to say his last year when he was in it, and he didn't end up winning it, but they showed him in between rounds, like doing deadlifts or whatever to keep his core engaged or something like that, his back engaged while he wasn't hitting. I just think someone putting that much effort into it, maybe it's a little try-hardy, maybe it's a little cringe, he's backed it up. He's won 2 of them so far, and there's a good chance he goes ahead and gets his third next Monday as well too.
Yes, sir.
Next up, for my second pick, I'm also taking a guy who has won it multiple times, and this was an integral part of my childhood. And I know, by the way, that Skylar's looking at me right now, he knows exactly who I'm taking too. I'm taking none other than the Cuban Missile, Yoenis Cespedes.
Number 3 on the board.
Yeah. Back-to-back picks for you now, Skylar, in round 2 and round 3. Skylar, who do you got?
All right. You know what? I thought I was going to stick to the board, but I'm not. I'm going to dance around a little bit. With this pick, I'm going to go ahead and take Josh Hamilton. Never won a Derby, only participated in the 08 at Old Yankee Stadium, but I'll never forget that first round when he hit 28 homers, destroying the old record for the 10-swing era. So I'll be happy to add him onto the team. And I'm between 2 guys, another guy who won 2 and another guy who won 1, but it was a really special one. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Bryce Harper with my next pick.
Okay.
Only crowned the champion 1 time, was the runner-up to Cespedes, but that 2018 Derby will always be legendary because of who was pitching to him. His dad.
Yep. Couple good picks there. So that leaves me for my 3rd round pick and my 4th round pick. My first pick is going to be a guy who is built for the home run derby. Also won it a couple times. I'm going with none other than Prince Fielder as my pick. He embodies the home run derby. If it was a person, it would be Prince Fielder. It's probably a consistent build for him. And I don't say Pete Alonso's like that, but he maybe when he's 35, 36, he's going to be looking like that as well too. Starting off the 4th round, see, all of my top 5 have been taken so far. I think I'm going to go with the 1996 winner, Barry Bonds. He best hitter of all time. I know the Derby, repertoire, resume, whatever it is, maybe not the greatest. But when you're talking about the guy who's hit the most homers of all time, man, juice or not, it doesn't matter in the home run derby. He's hitting the ball the fuck out of the ballpark. And that's my 4th round pick there.
Yeah, Bonds on the board, of course, but I had to bump him down a little because he was historically underwhelming in the Derby. But of course, when you get them all out there on that neutral site, it doesn't matter. I'm really happy this guy's still here for me for round number 4. I'm going to take Vlad Jr., the champion last year. That included beating Julio in the 2nd round, coming off of a 40-homer round. But what really stands out to me is his 91 homers in one night. I'm convinced it's the most homers ever hit in one night at any level. So that's why I'm going to take him in the 4th round. And you know what? Now we're on the topic of juicing. I'm going to take Sammy Sosa next. In the 2000 home run derby, he had 26, a new record shattering Griffey's old record with the 10-swing era, beating out Delgado, Chipper Jones, Vlad Sr. Just a guy you want out there on your team when it comes down to hitting home runs.
Yeah. Leaves me in a tough spot for my next picks in the 5th and 6th round. Looking at my big board, looking at the guys I want to take. I think I'll start it off with the guy who won it during our childhood. Big time bopper as well too. I'm taking Ryan Howard as my 5th round pick. I felt like I could go safe there. Those big lefty bats are tough to pass up on. And then the next guy I'm going to take, perhaps one of the most daunting men ever to come up to bat at the plate.
Damn it.
There's a couple of people that I'm thinking about when I say this. I'm in between 2 who are just equally as daunting. Okay, I'll go with the guy who did it more recently, the 2016 winner, Giancarlo Stanton.
Okay. Not the guy I was going to take, so that's okay.
Okay.
Was on the board, though. He was on the board, of course. A couple current Yankees are pretty scary to this day. But I need another lefty. It was a good point there. And the next guy on my board will be Big Papi. He got the job done in 2010. He beat out Prime Hanley in Anaheim with 30 homers. Participated in 5, and this dude's power is pretty universal. So he makes the board as a top 10 Derby hitter ever. And another tough one here. You know what? We got to do it. Unfortunately, this guy never won a Derby, but his 5 Derbies spread across 19 different seasons. My next pick's going to be Albert Pujols. He did pretty well at 40. So I can imagine if this new style built for a machine, if you will, type hitter, take that back to 03, he might have a couple champions himself.
Yeah. So that leaves me for my last 2 picks here in the rounds 7 and 8. And I think I need some juice, man. I think I need some juice. I'm not going to lie. So I'm going to go. I'll go with Mark McGwire as my number 7 overall pick. I guess it's number 14, but my 7th round pick there. And then, I can't stop with one juicer, right? I already have Barry Bonds, so I'm going to go with the guy who had a ridiculous amount of power, was never going to be taken in this draft, but is one of my favorite names and just just cool guy. Juan Gonzalez, who won it in 1993. Him and A-Rod, man, some big-time juicers. And that sets up your last pick.
Yeah, this is really controversial. Do I leave Aaron Judge off? But this one guy might end up with the most Derby homers ever of all time if he does it again. Let's do it. Let's go bold here. The next guy on my board is Julio Rodriguez, a guy I haven't been the highest on talking about MVP voting, but one thing he's been really great at is hitting homers in this Derby. Only the second guy on my board that never won it, but is 142 Derbies. It's very high up on the list. 41 homers in 1 round last year. He owns that record. I hope we see him do it again because he's going to end up on the top 5 of this list someday if he does it again. So let's add him to the squad.
Yeah, there's a few guys I was tempted to take, even though that they've only done it like once and didn't win it. Like Shohei, Adley Rutschman for his round last year was pretty electric. Jock Peterson had a couple rounds, I want to say in Cleveland, that he did that were ridiculous. That leaves our rosters where they are right now. We'll definitely post them on Twitter or something to try to get some votes to see who won. But Skylar's roster goes as follows: Ken Griffey Jr., Josh Hamilton, Bryce Harper, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Sammy Sosa, David Ortiz, Albert Pujols, and Julio Rodriguez. My roster goes as Pete Alonso, Yoenis Cespedes, Prince Fielder, Barry Bonds, Ryan Howard, Giancarlo Stanton, Mark McGwire, and Juan Gonzalez. I was going to take Vladdy Jr. When you were talking about him. I was going to do him, but I wasn't going to pick him unless I got to do Vladdy's Jr. and Vladdy's Sr. back-to-back. So I get that father-son duo. But
sorry for destroying your team.
It's all good. I'm completely okay with my guys. Completely okay with that. I got 3 juicers on my squad, so how bad can it be? And you have...
Do we count Poppy?
Ooh, he's in the half, so I guess not. Yeah. Sosa never actually did it. I saw a whole, I want to say maybe Jolly Olive video or something like that explaining that he never actually did it. Hamilton,
he probably did.
He did a lot of stuff. He did a lot of stuff, not just juice, but some other banned substances as well too. So maybe that adds to his level there. Anyways, we'll put our rosters up and see who had the better one there. Now getting back to a more serious note, the trade deadline is coming up. So we got to do our trade deadline predictions. We're not going to do, 20 guys today or something like that. We set it as 3 mock trades. We get to choose who we're trading. We get to choose where they're trading. So it kind of just up to us on what we think could happen or what might end up happening. So Skylar, I'll let you go first. Who is your first mock trade?
My first mock trade is going to include Jazz Chisholm Jr. I don't know if he's actually going to get traded, but I think it's time. I have him going to the Yankees to replace Trent Grisham. And the Marlins, in return, will get their number 4 prospect, shortstop Roderick Arias. He's only 19. Number 8 prospect, left-handed pitcher Henry Lillane. He's only 20. And their number 9 prospect, the outfielder Brando Mayea. He's only 18. The reason why I have him going to the Yankees is because you would expect Miami to take a couple shots at the rookie ball guys rather than get an older prospect because of how disastrous they've been.
My first mock trade includes Garrett Crochet, a name who has been thrown around quite a bit this beginning of the trade deadline season. He's got a lot of control. He's not going to be a free agent until 2027, so whoever gets him is going to have to give up a haul to go ahead and get him. But if you're the White Sox, I think you're also more inclined to trade him now than before because this guy has been a Tommy John recipient in the past. He's thrown a ton of innings this year, and he's been ridiculously good. So with pitchers, you never really know how long that's going to last. And I think if you're the White Sox and Chris Getz, their GM, I think you really got to pounce on this opportunity to get the most that you've had possibly to get him back. And I think the Arizona Diamondbacks are a team that can go ahead and make that move. Diamondbacks, if they were to get this, would have Gallen, Kelly, and Crochet as a big 3. And then Erod, if he ever comes back healthy, Brandon Pfaadt, Jordan Montgomery. You have all those guys there who could be the 4 or 5 starters well too. But in the package that they get back for Garrett Crochet, it's just Crochet going to the Diamondbacks. But what they get back, Jake McCarthy is the first guy. I assume Tommy Pham gets traded for the White Sox. I don't think he goes to the Diamondbacks because Jock Peterson's on the Diamondbacks, and that wouldn't work out. But I assume he gets traded as well too. Louis Bob is another guy. So that's down a couple outfielders. I think Jake McCarthy is a guy who doesn't have a perfect spot in the lineup right now for Arizona, but definitely has shown potential in the past of a guy that can play every day for some team. And I think the Chicago White Sox would love to have a guy like that on their team and maybe get some immediate impact back in this Crochet deal. The next guy is Arizona's number 3 prospect. Bit of underwhelming since he got drafted 2nd overall a couple years ago. That's Drew Jones, only a 776 OPS right now in single A. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Arizona to cut ties with it. It's shown to not be the greatest pick after Jackson Hall. I mean, they didn't really have a choice because Jackson Holiday went 1 and then Drew Jones went 2. But I think just everything that's gone on for Drew Jones and all the other guys around him succeeding has maybe kind of turned down the Drew Jones hype over the last couple of years. And whether that's his own performance or whether that's injuries, whatever it is, I think Arizona cutting ties with him could be something that works out good for both parties. I think Arizona will get a guy like Crochet back, of course, who's a stud, and Drew Jones gets a new fresh start in Chicago. 2 more prospects to go in this deal, though, the first of which is Jorge Barrosa, who is a 23-year-old outfielder for the Diamondback system right now. Switch hitter. Good speed, has came up a little bit this year and 2 for 10 with an RBI, so really hasn't done much there, but has been in the minor leagues for a long time, only 23 years old though. Solid OPS guy, around 800 in AAA this year. Good speed, can tap into some power as well too as long as he stays healthy. And could be a guy that's probably up by the end of the year for the Chicago White Sox. And the last guy is, I want to say the gem of the deal because Drew Jones is a top 100 prospect in the MLB right now, sitting at number 79. But this guy, number 14 prospect for the Arizona Diamondbacks, Davison De Los Santos, has been ridiculous this year in AAA. Only 21 years old, the first baseman, third baseman, has an OPS over 1,000 with 26 homers in the minors so far this year. He could be a guy who could be a top 100 prospect by the end of the year. He's 21 years old. The power is off the charts, of course, of 26 homers. I think is going to probably boom if he gets the opportunity to play every day. I think that'd be a perfect opportunity for the White Sox to get him and probably put him up by the end of the year or next year as well too. And that way they get some immediate impact for those fans that have been starving for stuff over there in Chicago. But that's my first mock trade, Garrett Crochet to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Skyler, what is your second?
All right. Well, I also have Garrett Crochet in here, so I might as well do that one right now. Again, on the same page with you here, except I have him going to Baltimore. The big prize of this one's going to be their number 4 prospect, Enrique Bradfield Jr. So right on the same page here. There's no need for Benintendi. Rubber's probably gone. After that, it's kind of hard to figure out Baltimore's farm system and what they are willing to give up. I have them taking a shot at their number 28 prospect, the catcher Creed Willems. He's only 21 and he has a bunch of power in high A. I feel like they probably won't wait around for him. And the White Sox catcher room is abysmal too. And the last guy, it's kind of a question mark because I feel like there should be a pitcher tied. I didn't like any of the pitchers in their top 30, so maybe we wait until after the draft to get that last piece.
Hmm. I can
Or
see
just
that.
someone not on the top 30.
Yeah. My next trade does involve the Baltimore Orioles. However, it is not with Garrett Crochet, of course. It's with our very own Mason Miller. I don't like the A's getting rid of guys. However, I think Mason Miller is a guy that we can turn into something a lot more than what he's worth. That's no shot on him or anything like that. He's been amazing. But as a closer, your capability to help a team win games isn't as high as what you can get back into package of guys that maybe all turn out to be duds or turn out to be great. So Mason Miller to the Baltimore Orioles is here. Also, Paul Blackburn goes over in the deal, helps get kind of a 5-starter that can help them, get into not get into the postseason, but win some more games in the regular season, and help get a 1 seed rather than a wild card spot. I don't think he will really start any games in the divisional round or anything like that, but definitely a guy that can help you win some regular season games this year, next year, however long he's under contract for. I know it's longer than this year. And the package going back to the A's would be a lot because Mason Miller's, controllable for a long time. Paul Blackburn's a quality starting pitcher when he's healthy. And so the number one guy coming back in the package is a guy who I have fallen in love with as a prospect, 22-year-old Kobe Mayo, who has an OPS over 1,000 this year in AAA. He's ridiculous, man. This guy absolutely rakes 21 homers and could be the long-term 3-hitter for the A's. And I think if you get a package involved in this guy, you gotta take it, man. Like this guy can really propel you into long-term success and not just, hey, we got a guy that can shut down the game for us when we're only capable of winning 65 games a year. But you get a 3-hitter that can hit 40 bombs and have 100-plus RBIs. I think you got to really, really like that if you're the A's. The next guy that I have in the package is Dylan Beavers. He got drafted out of Cal a couple years ago, number 6 prospect.
I met him before.
The Baltimore Orioles. He hasn't been the greatest in the minor leagues, only a 749 OPS this year, but 9 homers, 16 stolen bases is kind of something that you can fall in love with. The potential to be a 2020 guy in the big leagues, still only 22 years old, 6'4", 206, left-handed bat. Played in Cal, so the A's love their Bay Area type guys, and he's a guy that can fit in right there. With Paul Blackburn leaving, I think the A's would also need a pitcher coming back as well too, and I think it's a perfect opportunity to go ahead and get a guy like Cade Povich. Now, with that being said, the A's rocked Cade Povich last week, and so I don't really know what their personal mindset is on him, but he is a guy who's got potential, still only 24 years old, 6'3", 185, has had some decent strikeout stuff in the minors, hasn't really shown too much for the Orioles so far. However, I think taking the stress off immediately by just going and playing a team where you could just pitch and not worry about being in a playoff mindset every single time you go out there, at least to start his career and get his feet wet, perfect opportunity for him. So I think Cade Povich would be a great guy for the A's to get back. And the last one that I have is a number 30 prospect for the Baltimore Orioles, Steven Martinez, only 16 years old, Dominican Summer League guy, 6'4", 198 right now. This is like a shot in the dark, but if you get a 16-year-old and you make him the way that you want him to be, you got a chance to make this guy be great.
Just like Robert Pawson, right?
Exactly, but only 16 years old, so you never know. Born in 2007, crazy to think about.
Wow.
But could be a guy that would be on the A's radar. And Baltimore gets back, Mason Miller, Paul Blackburn. The analysis behind some of this stuff, I said A's trade Miller because he's a closer and doesn't have that, stuff. maybe that would be transferable into like a 6'4" guy or something like that. And when you get a guy like Mayo, you don't have too many opportunities to get guys like that. So you got to take that when you get the chance.
I was right about to say I'd be devastated, but guys like Kobe Mayo are not available very often.
Exactly. Yeah. I think when you have the opportunity to get a top 15 prospect in the MLB, it's something you got to take. Moving on, though, to our last mock trade, Skyler. Who is the last one you got?
Yeah, we joke about it all the time, but the Mariners are finally going to get a bat. It's going to be Vlad Guerrero Jr. I don't know why, but this just seems like a perfect fit to me. The return is pretty interesting because I don't see the Mariners trading Cole Young anytime soon. So that makes their number 5 prospect, the shortstop, Felnin Celestin, a guy recently signed out of the DR, available, only 18. That's going to be a really exciting guy because you would imagine our guy Bichette would also be moved if Vlad gets moved. So there you go. Start building him up in the system. Also, number 8 prospect, the first baseman, Tyler Locklear. He's 23, hits a lot of homers in AAA. He's ready to be up. He would be replacing Vlad in the lineup, you would think right away, unless Joey Votto comes up for a bit. And then another throw in here, number 20 prospect, right-handed pitcher, Taylor Dollard. He's 25, but we know that Toronto has lots of issues with their young arms. So here's just another guy who could possibly be a 5th guy for you right now.
Yeah. My last trade is also a Vlad Guerrero Jr. I think he does end up getting moved in trade deadline season that probably involves, Bo Bichette being moved and a couple other guys on that team as well too, to start the rebuild process. But Vlad Guerrero Jr. being that first guy is definitely, a tell of things to come for that and a rebuild coming over there in Toronto. I originally had this trade going to the Houston Astros. I thought that, the gliding to Seattle would have been a perfect thing. The prospects line up, the packages line up, the Vladdy lines up in Seattle. And I thought the Houston Astros, with their current situation, needing a first baseman that can hit, a guy that's under 2 years of control, this could be a perfect guy for them to, have for a year, maybe flip in a year and a half or whatever they want to do. And kind of go on that last run. And then looking at Houston's minor league system, you could just see that wasn't going to be possible. There isn't that star guy that you would want back for Vlad Guerrero Jr. So with that being said, Vlad Guerrero goes to the Seattle Mariners is my package. My package is a bit different than yours because I also included Jimmy Garcia in the trade, who's been a lockdown reliever for the Baltimore Orioles, the Toronto Blue Jays. Is a free agent this year as well too. Seattle's already got a great bullpen, but you can never have too many bullpen arms. It's something we've said a ton of times. So my package is a little bit more enhanced than yours. That's what she said. But the first guy that I have given back is not Cole Young or Harry Ford. It's Cole Emerson, who is the 18-year-old shortstop second baseman right now in single A. He's been tearing it up, 852 OPS. He's got some good power, some decent speed. And kind of an all-around guy. And I think he'd be a perfect young guy to get back in that deal for Toronto. The next guy, number 4 prospect for the Seattle Mariners, and this guy is a ridiculous stud. Lazaro Montes hits nukes, man. OPS at 904 right now, 14 homers and 77 RBIs in the minor leagues. High A right now for the Everett Aqua Sox. Pretty cool name in the minor leagues. But only 19 years old, 6'3", 210. I think a couple, I would say crazily far out because these 2 guys are really good. I think you can maybe see him up at the end of next year. But 2 guys who are decently far out prospects can really help build your, long-term rebuild and help build your farm system and kind of have some talent that's all going to come up at one time when you look at a package they get back for, Bichette and some of the other guys that they'll draft in the next couple of years. 2 other guys, though, in the deal, and I think one of the guys that they're going to get back would be Jonathan Clase, who's came up earlier this year for the Seattle Mariners, has blazing speed, 869 OPS in AAA, 26 stolen bases and 10 homers this year in 58 games in AAA. I don't think he turns out to be anything crazy in the big leagues, but just an outfielder that you can get some immediate production back for when you're trading the face of your franchise is probably a wise idea. And then the last guy that I have getting them back is not a prospect anymore, technically, but Emerson Hancock. who's come up for the Mariners, hasn't been that effective, doesn't have a role on that team because they have about 7 starters that are all-star worthy. And he kind of just falls out of the equation. So I think Seattle will be willing to move him. I think Toronto, even with their good starting rotation, will be willing to take him on and throw him in there as another one of those guys to help get back to long-term form for the Toronto Blue Jays. But that was my big package there. You kind of shocked me when you said Vladdy to the Seattle Mariners. Well, too, I was like, fuck. But I was like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Well, that just proves how many guys they have that are available. We talk about 6 different young guys who could be on the move. They don't need them right now.
Yeah, I also thought it was fun looking at Seattle's farm system because they have like 7 guys that could be like top 15 prospects in the next few years, whether that's Cole Young, Harry Ford, Emerson Montes, like I said, Feline Celestine, who you
I butchered the name.
I don't know exactly how to say it. Maybe I said it wrong too. He looks like a stud. I think he's gonna be a guy who probably ends up being, like top 10 prospect at some point. Johnny Famelo, Ty Pete, both those guys have been studs so far. And their top 7 prospects are all at the oldest 21, but most of them are teenagers, which is crazy to see. You don't see that too often. But maybe a farm system that will be really good next couple years if they don't decide to do anything. But if they do, they got the guys that can make some teams happy for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to the second half.
All right. We'll kick off the second half with a little bit of summer league talk first. And this stuff is not the most important. So don't take too much into this. There are just a couple guys we got to talk about because this is our first time seeing them. So we'll start off with Zach Edey, a guy who's gotten a lot of hate over the past couple of weeks, basically because he's too big, he's too slow. You don't take a post score that high. It's 2024. But hey, he had a double-double and 4 blocks last night in his debut. He looked pretty good. Dunked on a couple guys too. So that's pretty cool for the guys who said, oh, he can't dunk, he's not athletic. Shut him up for a little bit. We'll switch pace here and talk about Bronny James. Only 2 points in his first game. I would expect that he spends most of the year in the G League. Maybe try to work on that shot a little more, become a better Peyton Pritchard type player. But hey, that doesn't mean he can't stick in the league. I think there's a middle ground that they're missing on social media right now. Just because he's not this starter doesn't mean he won't survive. How about the Lakers' other player? Lakers have played a bunch of games so far. That's why we got more numbers on them. Dalton Connect, a similar problem so far, chucking up shots on a terrible California Classic team. So it's really hard to tell us some of these guys are going to be as role players, but at least he's got a quick shot. And the last guy I'll talk about, Utah Jazz youngster Keontae George. He had 30 points last night on 17 made free throws. Just some hilarious numbers to kick off the summer league. And I probably won't be watching these full games, but it's always cool to tune in and see which youngsters are improving. All right, you ready to talk Dynasty, Kyle?
I'm ready.
All right, so EA Sports College Football 25 will finally be coming out in about 6 days. So let's talk about some schools that would make for a fun dynasty. Of course, you can play with whichever school you want, but I have a couple of suggestions for you before you do an SEC or Big Ten 5-star school. Because, well, just to start off, those 5-star schools will be able to scout about 20 different recruits per week, compared to a smaller school, only 7. It's all about the rebuild. Before we start, too, I have this on NFL Chess. If you want to take a look, I have like 30 schools typed out with notes. I have a list for me, a list for DJ, and a list of Power 4. So the first one I was always going to do was Boise State. I actually watched the 2010 Fiesta Bowl today to hype myself up. Beat the snot out of Andy Dalton. Let's go. But the first real one, everyone's going to do them. Kennesaw State. It's the newest FBS school. They're very shitty at football. It's the Iowa of the South. They won 3 games with an FCS schedule last year, so they're going to be a real grind. Another one, of course, Middle Tennessee State. For the memes, Kyle and I have joked about these guys forever, and they're still horrible. A big thing with recruiting on Dynasty Mode is going to be the pipeline. So some schools with a cool pipeline, the USF Bulls, they're going to have that South Florida pipeline, usually have really fast receivers. The JMU Dukes, also a pretty new school. They're going to have that Washington, D.C. pipeline. A couple Power 4 schools we'll talk about real quick. It's so weird. It's not the P5 anymore. That's going to take some getting used to. Vanderbilt, horrific, and in the SEC. Cal and Stanford, what are we doing in the ACC, man? We're on the West Coast Conference, not the Atlantic Coast. The two Pac-2 schools left, Washington State and Oregon State. How about a couple teams who have moved into bigger conferences like Houston, SMU, West Virginia? It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be crazy. There's a lot of teams that you can do, of course. The possibilities are endless. I know this is something that you've been, marking your calendar for years and years on end now at this point. And it's so cool to see that the day is within a week now at this point. If you got it, the whatever edition or whatever that I know I got the Madden bundle and with that as well too. With EA Play, it's only $135.
There you go.
So end up being a decent deal there. But just it's cool to say that this is finally, not on the horizon as much anymore, and now kind of in the now, which is awesome.
And Ultimate Team has been a bit of a controversy, but hey, you don't have to buy all the packs. Let's leave that to the YouTubers and just play whatever you're comfortable playing.
Yep.
All right. We got one last note on halftime here. Just want to remind everybody, me and you, I guess, the MLB Draft first round will be Sunday, the 16th. So we will know who the A's take at number 4 when we come back for 201. Sounded like it's either going to be Bazana if he doesn't go 1, Weatherholt, or Caglione. So college guy. Going to be exciting either way.
Definitely something that we'll react to in episode 201 as well too, whether it's the top 10 picks, 15 picks, depending on some of the names taken within there. But something we'll probably grade in some capacity over the next week or so. And maybe talk about some other picks that we saw later on in the draft, because it's 1-year-round draft.
Like Matt Egger? Or did he go back?
I mean, you never really know with this stuff. Okay. But if you get drafted, you go. It could be an option. So we'll see how that goes. So we'll talk more about that in the coming week. But we got to get into our bets, and it was a glorious week last week. I got a text from Skyler, I want to say on Thursday or Friday night, saying when we went 4 for 4, exclamation point, all this stuff. And I was like,
hell yeah, baby.
It's been a while since we did this, but a clean sweep, 4 for 4. Last week I had Houston winning on Wednesday. That did happen. Skyler had Texas over Tampa Bay on Friday. That did happen despite the starter for Tampa Bay being traded before this game, Aaron Savale, who went to the Milwaukee Brewers. Regardless, doesn't matter. Texas gets the W. Yeah. This week I have Spain in the Euro Finals on Sunday, winning against whether it's England or the Netherlands. We'll find out tomorrow for that. But the Spain should be a favorite regardless because it's the best team in the tournament. So I have Spain winning in that.
All right. Going to go back with the baseball here. Colorado helped me so much last week. We'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to take the Mets hosting them. Sean Manaea has been pretty solid this year, going up against Tanner Gordon. So come on, Grimace. Let's go. Give me one more.
Oh, Tanner Gordon?
Yeah.
Never heard of that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to bold prediction is, again, perfect for us. I had Arizona over the Diamondbacks on that 4th of July Thursday. That's a Zach Gallen start. It did end up happening there. Shout out Christian Walker. Skyler had Colorado over Kansas City on Friday. That was with Freeland versus Reagans, and that did happen there. This week, I have a parlay because I didn't like any specific one thing. So I went with Pittsburgh and Baltimore first 5 money line on Thursday. That is Albert Suarez pitching for the Baltimore Orioles against Justin Steele. The Cubs, I think that's something that could be kind of slated more towards the Cubs than what you would expect because of Steele's most recent outing. Suarez has been good all year. I think Baltimore lineup is too good to hold down as well, too, for Justin Steele. And then for Pittsburgh, that's Paul Skeens start. That's all I need to say. It's a Paul Skeens start. So first 5 money line for both those teams for parlay on Thursday.
All right. For my bold prediction, I'm going to pick up Derby winner. It's a big Derby episode, so Pete Alonso, he's going to go for the third. Last year, he was the favorite. His odds were about plus 280. He ended up not winning it. So I expect the odds to be around plus 300, which is better than any single game you can find. So I thought, hey, if Pete Alonso really is that guy, he's going to be pissed off and wanting to go defend his title again. So good luck.
Would be good. Would be good for my Pete Alonso second overall pick, Aura. So or agenda, not Aura, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it, though, for episode 200. We made it through the 100s. We made it through the no hundreds. And now we are on to the 200s. I remember us starting, and I want to say it's like maybe Alex or something like that. And just wanted to do like episode 1 or episode 2 or whatever it was. And I was like, no, dude, we got to do episode 001.
Because we're getting
count it up
digits.
like that. Because we're getting to triple digits, and to say that we're not just at triple digits, but we're 4 years strong into this and not stopping is pretty ridiculous to say. So while the viewership maybe isn't there, it's still fun for us to do every week, especially when football's on. It's definitely something that's pretty fun. Sometimes it gets a little monotonous during the June or August months. July keeps us in because of the trade deadline and all this stuff. But more episodes to come, of course. And we'll see you guys in the future. Any parting notes, Skyler?
There will be 100% Dynasty videos on the Immaculate Sports YouTube. I've been messing around with some stuff on my computer, trying to figure out how to get that file over without spending $500 on some kind of capture card. And I think I'm going to be able to do it. So that goes for you, too. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, let's see what happens. A lot of people are going to be looking for NCAA videos. And it's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, still a lot ahead of us.
To 200 more, Kyle. Appreciate you.
Exactly. 200. We'll see you in 4 years for episode 400.
Or next Tuesday night for 201. And we'll get another 200.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. We'll see.